Hey, I'm Bob at ILikeToMakeStuff. Over the years, you've seen me build several different beds at my house for my family, but today we're at Josh's house and he needs to build something entirely different.
Both my boys share this really small space and they have this janky loft bed that I can't stand. So I designed a completely new one. The new design allows us to have the bed on the top with many different configurations for stuff to go underneath. So today we're gonna build a desk, we're gonna build cabinets, we're gonna build a lot of stuff for my son that he's gonna love.
Let's give it a shot. So this is a pretty small room, and you're gonna have two beds in here eventually.
Right, so we have to go up. We have to maximize vertical space because the floor plan doesn't allow for a lot of room.
And you can buy these, obviously, at like IKEA and other places.
But for the same amount of money, I can get plywood and I can build it here to my specific needs.
Plus you can customize what goes underneath the bed for your kids.
Yep.
And so like Josh came up with a whole system here to design something to go underneath the bed, but then you can swap that out if you have a different set of needs.
Right, if you're in an apartment or in a dorm and you don't need a desk and bookshelves, you can put different configurations underneath to match your specific space.
Speaking of an apartment, this is actually a great solution because he also designed it in a way that doesn't require a lot of tools. So if you don't have a big workshop, this is something you can make.
Absolutely, so if you have a pocket hole jig and like a jigsaw, you can totally make this. We got a lot of pieces cut at the hardware store, so you don't really need a table saw. And we're gonna put it together and hopefully it'll be easy enough to where my kids can actually help build their own bed.
Which makes you awesome.
Right, I get to be a hero. So a loft bed is gonna tick all the boxes that we mentioned. So I did a quick internet search for loft beds online and I was insulted by how much people wanted to charge me for a twin size mattress holder with a desk and maybe some drawers. It's pretty ridiculous and I can't spend thousands of dollars on a bed for my kid that they're eventually gonna grow out of. So I designed one in Fusion 360 that's gonna fit my son's needs. Now I also designed a couple other ones because you may have different needs than I do, and so I'm gonna show you what they look like. They're pretty cool. So based on all those internet searches for the ridiculous designs, I came up with this model. It uses a lot of the same elements of the other loft beds that I researched. It uses 5 sheets of plywood and is significantly cheaper than all the rest of those. But this is meant to fit my son. And so to make a design that could hopefully fit in your world, I came up with some different variations. This variation doesn't have a desk. It has like a reading space underneath where you could put like a love seat or a chair. And if you don't need a workspace underneath, say you have multiple people, I also created a simple bunk bed. With all these designs, it is much more affordable for you to get these cut at the store, make them yourself, and feel proud of what you're making in your home. And if you're not sure if these beds are gonna fit in your space, we have a super cool way that you can visualize it in your environment, and we're gonna tell you about it later on. It's pretty awesome.
So you went to the store and you got all of these sheets cut down. How close to the final dimensions are they able to do?
Some of them are perfect. I took the plans that we're gonna have available and I marked out on the sheets in the store in front of the person every cut that I wanted them to make. And then I kind of meticulously stood over their shoulder to make sure that they weren't gonna mess it up. And so some of these pieces are ready for paint and ready to put together. But because I have some of the tools available that I'm gonna need, I didn't get every piece, but you totally can.
And it's not expensive, it doesn't have the cost.
They say that you would charge a quarter, but I was not charged anything extra for all these sheets to be cut down. I walked out with a gigantic stack and put it in the car and left.
Okay, so we have most of the pieces here. We have a few more to cut down, and then we have to add some pocket holes, edge banding, and a few cuts with a jigsaw. All right, let's get started on this. We'll get to those specialty cuts in just a little bit.
Since we got most of these panels cut at the store, all that was really left was to add some of these jigsaw pieces, and we wanted to make this with really simple tools. So far we used the store saw, we used a jigsaw, which is pretty readily available, we used a pocket hole jig that if you're ever gonna make any kind of furniture, you really need to get a pocket hole jig. So now all the pieces are ready. I've got to add a little bit more edge banding, and then it's ready for paint. So for this version of the loft bed, I'm gonna put an L-shaped desk underneath. I happen to have a really big slab that I got off of Facebook for dirt cheap, so I'm gonna be using that. If you don't have access to something like that, the hardware stores have pre-made butcher block countertops and you can cut those and do it the same. So when you see this, we're gonna assemble the loft bed and then I'm gonna be adding this really fancy looking desk. You can make that desk a lot of different ways. You don't have to have a big slab.
This thing's all painted and ready to put together, but I wanted to show you something cool that we've been using to visualize these projects before we actually start building them, and that's an AR model. So we model these things in Fusion 360, and from there we can export a model that we can put into AR. So you can actually see the model at full scale in your room before you even buy the plans. It's been really helpful for us, and I hope it's helpful for you. If you want to take advantage of this, you can use the on-screen QR code to see this in your room. If you're interested in it, then you can go get the plans. We'll have links to those down in the description when we're all done, but right now, we need to bring all the pieces up here and put this thing together. Most of the construction is finished. I wanted to point something out though. You're building a bed, but you bought bed slats.
Yeah, you can get furring strips at the hardware store that are really inexpensive, or you can get pre-made slats that are like held together with fabric that just lay down in the bed pretty simply.
Yeah, so even if you make your own bed, you can still get the parts that you need. So we're gonna put those in there. I'm gonna hang some lights in here over the awesome looking desk, and you still have to finish up the door.
Yeah, so last thing I have to do is I'm gonna fit the door in this little nook. The different versions that we're gonna make will have a full-size door, but this one has like a half door. I'm gonna show you how to put hinges on because they can be really difficult, but we've got a really cool jig to make it super simple. So Craig has a jig perfect for installing these hinges. I did a test bed so that I could make sure that everything fit, and you can see these screws here. You can adjust how the door will eventually end up. You can adjust it in and out, and you can adjust the gap to make sure that it doesn't hit the edge. So I used this template to make sure that the hinges are gonna work on the final door. So I'm gonna use the jig, put in the hinges, and then we're gonna go install it, and this should be done.
While Josh is handling the hinges, I'm gonna mount these LED pucks on the ceiling up here with some sticky tape. They're really easy to hook up and you can control them with a remote.
I'm super happy with how the bed turned out. We were able to take an entire bedroom's worth of stuff and fit it into the footprint of a twin-size bed.
And this is just one of the variations that you designed. So we're actually gonna have 3 sets of plans with 3 different things on the bottom. And you can check all of them out in your space using the AR models that we're gonna have available. Links to those plans and models and everything will be down in the description.
And you can take those plans and, like I said earlier, go to the store and have them cut all these pieces. You can use some really accessible jigs and really easy to use tools and put it together in no time.
So if you need a bed, maybe you're in an apartment or a dorm or you just have a small space, be sure to go check out those models. Good job on this one. Thanks for watching. Now it's time for bloopers. You've seen me build a lot of different kinds of beds at my house, but today we're at Josh's house.
That's what I refer to it as. Both my boys live in this.
I'm gonna mount some LED pucks. These are small apartment, or you just have a kid.
That was good.